morning, everyone. Today is February 15th, 2019. I'm your host, Brooklyn Glenn, and this is Micro News Network. Today we have a story about the cholera outbreak in Yemen. The problem that started in 2017 but has persisted through 2019. Cholera, more scientifically known as Vibrio cholerae, it's a waterborne bacteria that affects the intestines of its victims and causes severe diarrhea. Nael Motley, reporting from one of many hospitals overcome with victims, will now explain the disease and how it's managed to affect so many.
Thank you, Brooklyn. Behind me is a Yemen hospital where doctors are hard at work treating victims of the fatal disease. Like all bacteria, Vibrio cholerae is a prokaryotic organism. Its DNA is located in a circular chromosome and a plasmid in the cytoplasm. And it contains ribosomes, pili, and a flagellum. Furthermore, Vibrio cholerae has a plasma membrane, a cell wall made up of peptoglycan, and an outer capsule made of membrane. This outer capsule helps prevent the bacteria from getting enveloped by white blood cells and being affected by antibiotics. Here in Yemen, I also had the opportunity to interview someone who has been fighting this bacteria from the beginning, Dr. Jordan Simmons. Dr. Simmons, how has the Vibrio cholerae been able to survive and devastate the Yemen population for this long?
Yes, Nael, it's truly remarkable how long cholera has been able to thrive in this country. It's really about its life cycle. The bacterium Vibrio cholerae is found in water sources that have been contaminated by cholera-infected human feces. When people ingest such water or consume the contaminated food from the water, the bacteria enter their system and start colonizing the small intestine. After multiplying, these bacteria secrete a cholera toxin that causes intensive diarrhea. This symptom pumps Vibrio cholerae back into the water sources to infect more helpless victims.
Should people be worried about contact with victims of this disease?
Good question, Nael. Cholera especially spreads rapidly in areas with infectious sewage and sanitation systems or unsafe sources of water, and people living in such areas are most likely to contract the disease. Because it spreads by drinking contaminated water, limited contact with victims won't spread the disease.
Thank you, Nael, and thank you, Jordan. Now we're going to cut to a survival disease for a more personal look into cholera. Kenan, how did you first know you're contracting cholera?
Well, after contracting the disease, the first symptoms can appear within a few hours up to 5 days. So, a few weeks ago, my family began noticing that I was growing increasingly irritable and restless. Soon after that, the symptoms only grew more severe. I started experiencing thirst, muscle cramps, vomiting, and a very high heart rate. And the worst of all, diarrhea. I grew so weak and dehydrated that my family thought I'd most certainly die. You know, only 10% of people get such severe symptoms. In 90% of cases, victims experience mild or no symptoms. However, for these unfortunate victims, death can occur within hours due to shock and fatal dehydration.
You're so brave, Kenan. One last question. How do you possibly get over cholera?
Simply rehydration to replace the water and salts lost during diarrhea. My mom got me an oral rehydration solution, which was a combination of sugar, salts, and water. I basically just gulped that down for a while, and eventually I was better. However, I know that in the most severe cases, victims may need intravenous fluid replacement or antibiotics, but no other treatment is as essential as rehydration.
Thank you, Kenan, and we wish you well on your recuperation. Now we joined by CDC specialist Dr. Sophie Shepard to provide more insight into cholera. Sophie, how can one best prevent the contraction of cholera?
Brooklyn, the best way to prevent cholera is to only use chemically treated, bottled, or boiled water and other beverages. Be vigilant of more than just the water you drink, though, for the water used to wash dishes, brush teeth, and more can also be contaminated. Additionally, be careful to eat packaged food or food that is freshly cooked and served hot, and wash your hands often with soap and water or alcohol. Lastly, be as sanitary as possible when getting rid of human feces. There is actually an oral vaccine called Cholera recently approved by the FDA too, but it isn't recommended to most travelers and is inferior compared to the hygienic measures previously stated.
Seems simple enough, but Dr. Shepard, exactly how many people are being affected?
Thus far, there have been 1.336 million cases of cholera in Yemen. The April 2017 wave surged after the sewer system in Sana'a stopped working, but it is estimated by scientists that this cholera strain spread from Eastern Africa along with immigrants. In this map here, you can see that the distribution of cholera across the country is concentrated in the West, and that as the number of cholera cases increased, so did the number of deaths. To compare with Yemen, there are between 1.3 million and 4 million cases of cholera annually worldwide.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard, and thank you for listening. This was the Micronote News Network. Have a nice night.